What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Driver's Lounge with Cameron Reed, my podcast where we bring on guests, learn about their story, and talk about all things racing. If you guys like to see more of these episodes, please like, comment, and subscribe. And without further ado, welcome to the first episode. On today's episode, we'll have one of my really good buddies, Macon Moore, the manager of Moore Park Raceway here in Lafayette, the place I got started. We'll learn about his start in racing, what he's done so far with Moore Park Raceway, and what are his future plans. Welcome, Macon, to the first ever episode of the Driver's Lounge. How's it going? Thank you for coming on.
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be the first one here. I've always thought you'd be really good at something like this, so I'm excited to see where you take it.
I appreciate it. I guess we'll kind of get right into it. And so obviously we were just driving back together a few days ago from CK&A Grands, but for everybody watching that may not know you, how'd you get started into racing? I guess that's how we'll start.
So, yeah, I'm assuming it's similar to you, but specifically a neighbor down the road from me actually got my sister into it first. So my sister, her name's Presley. She's a little younger than me. She started with, and so she raced for a couple of weeks, and then she just got bored of it really fast. But my dad had already bought all the crap to do it. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll do it. So I fell in love with it and have been doing it ever since. Started at Moore Park and then moved on to Jacksonville. So I'm sure we'll get more into those two tracks here in a little bit. But that's how I started. My neighbor started with my sister, and then my sister quit, so I started.
I actually didn't know that. That's crazy. So I guess that kind of leads us to our next thing. Obviously, we both got started at Moore Park Raceway here in Lafayette. And now you have become, I guess, what we'll call the manager. And so how did that kind of come onto your plate, and what have you done so far?
So for the past many, many years, I've raced there. I never stopped racing there since I started, and I know you started there. And so all my years of racing there, I really loved that track. I thought it was a great track to get people started in the sport and then kind of move on to a bigger and better place. And so seeing that, there was always somebody there, mainly Anthony Harwin. He's always ran it. And some other people have always been there for it. And so whenever they needed somebody to jump in and continue that, Anthony had been doing it for so many years and kind of got tired of it. I was like, heck yeah, my father is actually the president, and I just kind of run the stuff that you see. So he does the behind the scenes and the stuff that nobody sees that's very important. And then I get to do the fun stuff. So running the track during the day, whenever there is races, and then marketing it. And then really the biggest thing I've loved doing the most is the public relations side of it. New people messaging us all the time, trying to get into the sport. And since I've started, we've been able to get a handful of people going and hoping to continue that trend. So that's definitely, to answer your question, that's definitely been my favorite part about it so far. And I would say my biggest accomplishment, I guess you could say, thus far is just getting new people to come. And that's the biggest thing I'm trying to get out there, is that this track is here and we are racing there. Come out and see it. And see how you can get involved if you want to.
Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of people, as they continue to grow through racing, they feel like they kind of grow out of club racing. But honestly, I don't think you ever really grow out of it. It's always something to go back to. And that's something that I want to continue to go, come participate in more races. I'll be back at this event this week and helping out however I can. But what would you kind of say to the people who are thinking about coming out? Obviously, for some of those that don't know that the event is there, but for the ones that do, kind of give us a rundown about how the event is ran, when your gates will open this weekend, prices. Is there a price to come watch, or can anybody just show up?
So for starters, we have been doing a lot of night races lately. This is not that. So just to be specific about this race, this is going to be a double header. So on the same day, but we're going to have two separate races. So I think it's a great race to come to for starters. If you wanted to come at any time during the day, you're going to find racing going on. But the gates specifically open at 8, and we'll have practice from 8 to 11, and then racing will start pretty soon after that. I'd imagine we'll be racing until probably about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So if you come anytime between 8 o'clock and 4 o'clock, you will find some racing. But for people who don't find this video until after this, you could certainly check out our Facebook page at Moore Park Racing or Moore Park Raceway and see everything that we have going on and see the schedule and all that stuff. So like I said, it's not always the same schedule. This so happens to be a double header. Sometimes we'll just have one race during the day, and other times we'll have a night race. So I'm trying to do more night races because, as you know, here in South Louisiana, it definitely gets hot.
Right. So anybody who wants to come, they can just show up and spectate,
Yes.
no problem.
Yes, and to answer your last question, it is free to come spectate. I do not have any plans of changing that at all for next year. So I plan to continue at completely free admission. Of course, if you want to race, that obviously costs money, and we could talk about that as well. But as far as come and watch, completely free. We have grandstands you can come watch from. But the biggest thing I can recommend for people trying to get into the sport is come ask questions. You know, you, as along with every other racer that I've ever met at a go-kart track, is willing to talk to somebody new. If you come and just simply mosey on into the pits, find a go-kart, somebody who looks like they're in a place to talk. If you go up to them and start a conversation, they will explain to you what it takes, and that's the best way to learn how to get into it. So that's the biggest thing that I love about Moore Park is how open it is for people to come learn. That's my goal there.
Yeah, so I think everything that you've done at Moore Park is really, really important. Everybody's got to get started somewhere. And as we continue to grow and get better throughout racing, the more years we have in it, I think it's important that we continue to go back to our club racing tracks, find somebody who can help. There might be a new guy that's trying to get into it. Give as much knowledge and help as possible. And I think you've done just that. So really great what you're doing, and hope I can be a help in some way.
No, I appreciate that. And so for starters, you came to the last race, and you showed up early, and you had to stay to the very end because if you don't remember, I lost my phone. We literally searched the track for hours looking for my phone, and then I borrowed your phone and called to try to find it, and we finally found it. So just to say, I really appreciate you coming out. It was a big help, and I would love to see you this weekend. One other thing I'd like to mention, though, on that front, we also do motorcycle racing at Moore Park. And so just wanted to add that before I forget. It is not something that I'm directly associated with, but I have really, really a lot of respect for those guys, and just another form of going out and having fun, learning, and, of course, leading into bigger racing if you wanted to. So I felt the need to mention those guys. And I'd also like to, I really appreciate your help. Anthony Harwin has always been a huge involvement there. And then also Robert Venable. He was out there flagging. If he's been in racing for longer than I've been alive, and you've been alive as well. So he's a big help as well. So either way, just wanted to thank all you guys for all the help there. And yeah, I hope to keep on building this track and keep offering a very good place for people to start.
Yeah, so I guess with that, we'll kind of pivot into another track that you got started at that's currently being rebuilt in Mississippi. I haven't personally ever been out to that track, but if you want to kind of talk through that, and is there a possibility that we might have a little club race series where we bounce between the two in the future?
Yep, so Miss Christy Kendall is out there getting that track going again. I know that she raced there for a period of time. That is actually the other track I started at. So I started at Moore Park in Jacksonville, Mississippi, and it is a very similar track to Moore Park, and I am so excited that she's getting that going. That the discussion of maybe having our series between the two has definitely been in the air. For now, let's just say that we will give them a chance to have a nice season going and let us continue to grow, and then that I'm sure that will be a discussion. I would love to do something with them too. And also, not only that, Finish Line in Biloxi and NOLA are also both really, really good tracks that we have in our area. Look, I don't pretend to understand why we don't race there. I have no idea why. I've heard many, many different things, as I'm sure you have. But either way, I have a lot of hope that we can get racing going back again between those four tracks. We've got so much potential in our area, so I'm hoping that we can get Moore Park going again. It hasn't never stopped going, but continue to grow Moore Park and hopefully help grow the other tracks in our area as well.
Yeah, I think obviously it's really, really sad to see NOLA kind of on the decline, not having as many races there. I mean, we haven't had a club race there in what feels like years, but I think what you're doing with Moore Park and what Chrissy's doing there in Mississippi is hopefully still bringing drivers together. Obviously, for a little bit there in NOLA, we had a good group going where we would have 30, 40, 50 drivers at a club race. So I think it's important for those guys to, come support the locals. Obviously, you yourself who's working hard, but you've got a good, solid group behind you that are all kind of working together. So for all of us drivers here in Louisiana who may haven't been in the seat in a while because, we're sad NOLA isn't running, how about we all partner together and we go support guys like Macon and Christy and get back out on the track, even if it's just for a Saturday, a Friday practice, whatever it might be. I think it's important that, we all stick together, or these tracks will continue to die off.
No, absolutely. And I want to make it clear, I appreciate you saying Macon, and I appreciate you saying that I have a good group behind me. But I want to make it clear, it's not just me. I just so happen to be the person who does a lot of the Facebook stuff and is talking to you right now. But I promise you, there are people, I could not do this. It's not just me. I'm hardly even, anything to it. But my dad, Robert, Anthony, Jason is also, he's on the motorcycle side, as well as Will. All these guys coming together to make this work is super, super cool to see. And, like I said, we started at Moore Park, and then we transitioned over and started racing at NOLA. I know our relationship really, became super strong at NOLA. And so we, Moore Park can't do it alone. It really works great as a feeder to NOLA. And so the dream that I hope to see, and I know we'll talk more about our goals here for the next season and the seasons to come, but my dream is to continue growing Moore Park and then see NOLA come back up and running as a bigger track so that these people can come and be newcomers to Moore Park, learn how to race, get it going, and then transfer over to NOLA and grow. Because, to be honest, if it wasn't for NOLA, Moore Park was a perfect starter. And so was Jacksonville for me. But if it wasn't for NOLA, who knows where we'd be right now. You've been doing so fantastic. I don't know where you'd be if it wasn't for NOLA. It was such a pivotal part for my racing, and I would imagine that you could say the same.
100%. Like I said, I got started at Moore Park, and we did a few races there, but NOLA was what grew me. That's where we met you guys. That's where we met tons of people that have been so crucial and so pivotal in my career. And obviously, like I said, for a good little bit, we had a really solid group there going where we had some great drivers like Rhett Thomas and Cole Killian and the McDonoughs. And it wasn't easy to win over there, that's for sure. And it's really, really sad to see that dying down, but you still see those guys traveling and doing well. The group that we started with in NOLA have now become really, really successful, and we've all kind of traveled around the country, even Wargo, Kemper, a lot of the guys that started at such a great track have now been really successful elsewhere. So I think that if we can all start to rally back together and go to these races at Moore Park and go to these races at Jacksonville, it'll reopen the eyes of the management at NOLA and make them realize that there is profit and there is a reason to hold these events back. And right now we're just not proving anything to them by all sitting on our couch and griping about not having a race to go to. If we just, we get back out there, we get on track, they'll start to see the profit and the benefit of having races back.
No, absolutely. All the people you just named, every one of them, and you didn't name yourself because you're certainly included in that group, all those people started in our area, whether it be Moore Park, Jacksonville, Mississippi, or NOLA. Without that track there, we're not seeing any more growth. And, I know you're going to ask me this later, but I, as a racer, I've really kind of slowed down my racing to try to get this going again because we're not seeing any more growth. So that's my biggest goal, is to try and get this restarted and see if we can't start growing the sport again in our area. And I feel like we have a lot of potential to do that.
For sure. So I guess let's kind of talk about what it takes to get started for people who might be interested. Obviously, we've told them, just come out to the events, talk to people, meet people. But is there opportunities? Do you know people who are willing to do test days or maybe allow somebody to drive their go-kart at your track? Or, what is the cost that you would say to get started? Let's talk over entry fee price, that kind of stuff for the average guy that's just looking to, get a race under their belt, figure out if they like it.
Yes, absolutely. So, like I said, the very first thing you need to do is come to the track, talk to me, talk to anybody else who's at the track willing to talk about it, and just learn from there. Now, after you come first, then you can start figuring out what you want to run. Now, my biggest, what I would recommend the most, and I think you would agree with me, is a 206. I really feel like that's the best place to start. And so I would recommend that somebody go and find, more than likely I'd recommend them go find a used cart, a used chassis, cart, motor, everything, on whether it be Facebook Marketplace, or that's the biggest one to me, is going join those Briggs and Stratton groups and finding a chassis and cart there. That's going to be the best way, because then you can learn to race, and then eventually once you decide you would like to start getting something newer, then that's when they would talk to somebody like you who is selling brand new chassis. So I always recommend start off by coming talk to somebody at the track. From there, if you're interested, go and find you a 206 engine and chassis for sale as a package, and come race with us. And that's my biggest thing. Moore Park is the perfect place to start. Come race over there, and then eventually, hopefully, move to elsewhere from there. And hopefully NOLA will be an option for people. But if not, there are certainly other ones as well,
Right, and even for the people who might not have the money right off the bat and want to try, I know that Harwin has let people do a couple laps in their carts. You have even let a couple people do a couple laps before, and just to see if they like it. So just because you might be on the fence, I don't know if I'm gonna like it or not. For sure, go talk to people, come hang out. We're all pretty friendly people, and we all want to help. But also, if you want to get in a cart and do a couple laps, I'm sure that there's somebody at the track who'll be willing to let you go do a couple laps, see if you like it, and then you'll pretty quickly be bit with the bug, as we all have. But
no, absolutely. And just real quick, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're
just
good.
Just to answer that question, yes. So one of my other goals, and I have so many, but one of my other ones is to have a dedicated chassis, a dedicated engine and chassis that stays at Moore Park, or maybe has to stay with me if we don't feel comfortable with that, that people can come and drive. Now, for now, message us on Facebook. I will get right with you, and I'm more than happy to let you come out and drive my cart, just to see if that's something that you'd be interested in. I understand it's not for everybody, and so that would be a great way to know if it isn't. But stay tuned on Facebook. Stay tuned on our website. I have goals to have a dedicated cart for people to come try. So that's certainly something I'm looking into.
Right, so we already talked a little bit briefly about your race coming up this weekend, but let's kind of re-hit those points. So it'll be this Saturday, if you kind of want to go through that. The day, the time, everything. Like we already said, that you could come watch for free, but if you do want to enter, let's go over the pricing for that. And yeah.
So yes, just leading into that, another thing that Moore Park offers that is the best bang for your buck is for $250, you get access to the track full time. So, of course, I myself, or Robert Venable, Anthony Harwin, needs to check your equipment out. But once your equipment is confirmed it's safe, then you get access to the track whenever you like. It is a public track. So that's what $250 gets you. Now, if you decide you want to come race with us and that you just don't want to practice, then if you do have that membership, which is what the $250 gets you, then from there it is a $30 entry fee. So to come race, it's $30. We're the cheapest around. I don't have any plans on changing that, but that is extremely cheap. So $30 gets you to enter the race. Now, if you're not a member, then it's $40. So either 30 or 40, depending on whether you decide to get the membership. And then if you do not own your own transponder, we rent transponders. And the reason why we have to have those is to know where you are on the track, and also so you can see your times and compare yourself to the rest of the guys out there. But so that's really the pricing. Now, as far as the schedule, like I said, we open the gates at 8, but we do qualifying. So some other series in our area and all over the country, they do 2 heats, and then they take the average of the heats. Well, I think that's a great way to do it. I myself have always preferred to qualify, to have a heat, to have that heat determine where you start the next one, and then, of course, that one determine where you start the feature. So that's how we're going to do it this weekend, and that's how I plan to keep it. I'm always open to suggestions, but for now, that's how I do things. So come, and how we've always done things at Moore Park. So come this weekend, we will have a qualifying, a heat, and a final. And then around 1 o'clock, we'll have a break, and then we'll do that all over again for the second race, qualifying heat final. So if you come, expect to see some good racing, but also you may be watching some guys qualify, which is another reason why those transponders are needed if you do decide to come race with us.
And we haven't touched on this yet, but it is an open tire rule, right? Bring whatever tires you have, and you're allowed to run them.
Yep. Again, like I've said many, many times, I'm going to keep on repeating myself. But Moore Park is all about getting newcomers to come and race and have fun. So that's another way I can keep pricing down. And we've always done it that way, is open tires. I don't have any plans to change that either. simply because on that track it really doesn't make that big of a difference. Most guys are racing Vega and Invinco, as those are the most common, and they are a very good tire. But you can race whatever you have, and come have fun. I want to keep it as cheap as possible.
And for the classing structures, for those who might be a little worried if their class will be there, I know we run a lot of the 206 stuff there, but if somebody comes with a KA, will we find a place for them to run? Or is anybody welcome, or is it strictly 206 stuff for right now?
No, anybody is welcome to come and race on the track, as long as it's safe. We allow Tillotson, we allow the 206. We allow the motor you can get from Harbor Freight for, what is that? You buy one of those for $300?
Yeah.
I don't even know, but that would be the cheapest way to do it. So we allow anything to come onto the track as long as it's safe. And then as far as for the racing, though, to answer your question about the class structure, we have age ranges from kid kart. I'd have to look at the exact age range, but I think you could start that as early as 5 or 6. Maybe even earlier, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
You would know the answer to that. But kid kart, cadet, junior, senior, masters, that basically encompasses all the age ranges and all the weight classes. So we have everybody racing out there.
Yeah, like you said, we've got some kid karts out there that are like 5 years old, all the way up until, grown grandpas out there. We got Anthony. He's got his grandson out there in kid kart, and Anthony's out there running in the seniors. So it goes from all age ranges, and so anybody's welcome. I think that's the biggest thing. Is a lot of people think that this is just a kid's sport, or you can only run it for a certain amount of time. That's not right. Anybody can run it, as old as you want to go. So I guess with that, we'll kind of transition into what are your personal future plans? Or do you have any plans to get back in the seat in 2025? And then we'll kind of wrap it up with what are the future plans for the track?
So yes, absolutely. I do plan on. I haven't quit racing altogether. I've been trying to slow down a little bit as I focus on school and work and everything else. The real world has kind of slapped me upside the head a little bit, but I plan on getting back in the seat for sure in 2025. And as I get used to figuring out everything that there is to know about work and school and kind of settling down into those two things, I plan on definitely getting back into it. It's just been a little hard lately with everything. Somehow you managed to keep on going. I'm not sure how you figured it out, but I certainly don't have any time for anything else. But yes, I do plan on. I'm not quitting. I'm not going anywhere. I love racing too much. That's the only warning I'll give people, is it is a bit addicting. So be careful.
That's for sure. It's very, very addicting. You get bit with the bug really quickly, but I've tried to juggle it as best as I can, but I guess I probably don't work as much as I should. I'm just kind of mooching off mom and dad for right now, but I'm excited to hear that you'll be back in the seat. I think that's some things that people might need to be worried about. I think they might have written you off a little bit.
No, not yet. Now look, I see that trophy in the back left corner there. And we have to talk about that because I know we're about to be done, but that trophy is looking a little tall there. It's almost, I don't know how high you got that Cameron Reed racing thing, but that's a tall trophy there. So is that I'm guessing I didn't really get to see it very much because it was in the trailer, but that's the trophy you got for that awesome finish in the open box race. Am I mistaken on that?
Yeah. So I picked up this big thing last weekend at CK&A Grands for the Out of the Box Challenge. The Briggs and Stratton, it's pretty much a stock race. We all got a motor fresh out of the box, raced to put it on the chassis. That kind of set up our qualifying order. And then we went out on track. We did a quick little heat race, had a 10-minute window to change things, and then we did our final where I was able to win. But I guess that race kind of also helps this whole Moore Park conversation and getting newcomers into the event. It really proves that you don't need to go spend thousands of dollars on a built motor by I'm sponsored by Lawson Engines, but there's no reason to go spend a bunch of extra money if you're just trying to get started. We had a very, very competitive race fresh out of the box, just straight from Briggs and Stratton, and then later that same night they had the senior shootout on the same layout where everybody brought their own motors, and the time difference I think was like 0.3 off of the time I ran. So
I saw that.
It kind of just debunks the whole theory that we need to go spend a bunch of extra money for these built motors that are going to be so much better. But no, if you're a new guy and you want to get started, just get a motor fresh out of the box. And yeah, it was a super fun race, and
That was so
that's the
awesome.
new decor.
No, that was so awesome. And look, I wasn't working with you that weekend, although I did ride home with you. But I know that, I'm assuming, I didn't really get to see it very much. I know that you had gotten in a wreck right before that race. And so I think I saw somewhere on a comment on Facebook that y'all were fixing the cart while putting the motor on for qualifying. Is that not true?
Yeah, so I guess I kind of have to thank you for being there. Macon was the first one at the scale line after I got in my crash. Made sure I was okay and everything, so I really appreciate that. But yeah, the car was a little bit messed up from that heat race. So, Dad and Dustin, they were working on putting the motor on while me and Braden were kind of still trying to get the spindle replaced and everything. So we were able to get the cart all put back together, but I guess our time was a little bit slower because we weren't just putting the motor on.
No. Where did you qualify for that, by the way?
We ended up 12th. So we started
Okay,
12th,
so
and then I
you
got
got
up to like
first.
7th, and then on the last lap I went from 7th to 1st.
No, that was so. I mean, I've watched that on Car Chaser so many times because your strategy of where you placed yourself for that. It was so awesome to just see you make those smart decisions to end up up in front. So no, but yes, that is. I love your point about the fact that it does not take a lot of money to get into the sport. It is definitely not the cheapest of sports, but it doesn't have to be that expensive. You can find yourself a really good used chassis. You can get yourself an out of the box motor or a motor that comes on the cart, and they are dead bulletproof. And another good point, looking at the race that you had over in Grands, the size of that event is just unbelievable. And so I guess my point is there's racing all over the country. If you want to get into it, just come find a place that does it and get involved. It's one thing I wanted to say during this whole thing was how much racing has meant to me. It is obviously so much fun, but the people I've met along the way, the memories that just you and I have made all over the country, it's definitely a sport I recommend giving a shot.
Oh, 100%. The people that I've met through racing are now some of our best friends in the entire world. You being one of them, but also like there was people right in our back door that we had never even met before. The Domangs who race with us everywhere now. They were just 20 minutes up the road here in the city, and we had no idea who they were. And now we met them through racing, and we hang out with them every weekend. And I think that's a big thing is the people that are in karting, the people that are in racing are so genuine and so nice, and a lot of them do want to help. So it's not like other sports where everything is hidden. A lot of people are willing to help you. You just got to go up and ask. And yeah, we've been really fortunate, me and yourself, to grow and get to travel the whole country. But having such a large event like the one last weekend proves that the sport is still growing. It's still getting bigger. That was, I believe, the largest race on U.S. soil and modern era, and that's between all racing, 4-stroke, 2-stroke, anything like that. So the sport is growing. 206 is growing. 206 never died. It never will die. So yeah, I think it's just it's such a great sport, and I'm really thankful for all the relationships it's given us.
Yeah, absolutely. And to answer your last question, which you asked, you wanted to finish off with this, is what is the goal specifically with our track? That it is a public track, so it's our track. Everyone in Lafayette has a right to run there. And so the goal there is to continue growing it, of course, as I've said many times. And there's also a lot of opportunity to make the track bigger. So we're working on doing that. We're working on some different upgrades in the pits, just make it a little bit more accommodating for not only the racers but also the spectators. So we've got a lot of big goals there. Nothing is confirmed yet, but everything is being worked on, and just continuing to build that relationship with the city, which will then lead us into a lot of cool things we could do with that track. So we plan on keeping this track going, and hopefully not only keeping it going but growing it as well. So that is the ultimate goal for next year and the years to come. And so I hope that myself, my father, Anthony, Robert, you, anybody who wants to get involved, I hope that we can get y'all involved and continue to keep this track growing.
Yeah, so I guess a quick question. Since the city does own the track, And there is ideas and hopes that we'll be able to extend the pavement and extend the track itself. Will that all have to go through the city, or will you guys be able to do some sort of fundraiser to help build the funding for that?
Yep. So fundraisers are a great idea, and that's something that's been in the works. Just getting the word out there as well is also very important to us. So that's one thing I'm doing here, and plan to keep on doing. And same with the motorcycle guys; they're doing the same thing. Mr. Magruder is really working hard to do the same thing. So the motorcycle guys, the kart guys, we plan to work together in fundraising and getting the money together. And of course, we make a little bit of money off the racing that we've been able to save for years and years to hopefully as well keep on upgrading what we can. But yes, the city does have to be involved, which is a good thing, honestly. And so they will help us as well continue to hopefully pave the track eventually here and soon, hopefully, as well as just keeping it nice. So yes, they do help us, and stuff does have to go through the city. But like I said, I think that is ultimately a good thing. And then, of course, we're allowed to and able to do things on our own to fundraise to try and make the track better.
Well, that's awesome. I guess we'll kind of wrap it up with this Saturday, October 19th, a doubleheader at Moore Park. If you're anywhere in the area, got a go-kart sitting in your garage, maybe back from when we ran at NOLA, or you just built it, come out. Let's have a good time. Let's have a good field. Come out. I know, not this past race, but about 2 races ago, you guys had a solid showing with about 20 206 seniors. Am I right?
It was. I think it may have been closer to 15 or 15 to 20, but for our, it's not a very big track. It was a lot of racers out there, and I would love to see them come back. I think everybody had a really good time. So that's the biggest goal, is to have fun.
Absolutely. So, like I said, if you got your cart laying around, come out this Saturday to Moore Park Raceway in Lafayette. Message the Facebook page, Moore Park Raceway, or you can message myself or Macon to get any information that you need. But it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much. And I'll be out there this Saturday to help out wherever I can, and I can't wait to see you then.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for doing this, giving somebody like myself and our track a place to kind of voice what our plans are and hopefully get a little bit of the word out. And like I said at the beginning of this, I really look forward to seeing where you take it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, that wraps up our first ever episode of the Driver's Lounge. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys would like to see more of these videos, please comment down below who you'd like to see next, and subscribe. Please check out the race this weekend, Saturday, October 19th at Moore Park Raceway here in Lafayette. Come out, come support. And like I said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.